I'll be
married?
curious. I'll be curious how comfortable he is.
Oh, we'll come. I'll send him some of that
I have
bolo.
uh I have Ilana scheduled and Aaron scheduled in September. And then I'm doing a live broadcast from Oracle Open World in Vegas as
Is that right?
on the 7th for my podcast there. They asked me to do live from there, which will be really interesting.
You're
So
good live.
yeah, I like live. You know me.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting. They asked me to broadcast for a few hours, so I don't know how we're going to cut that, but it'll be pretty cool.
So, thank you. So yeah, so you're broadcasting live for a few hours?
Yeah.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah. They're
The
going to shuttle people in because I have I'll probably end up having about 250 members in Vegas. So
Really?
yeah.
That's nice. All finance and accounting professionals, or what?
250 members, the CFO Alliance will be
Oh,
there.
so wait. So how did it go in New York?
Uh,
Were you just
New
recently in
York
New York?
last night.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Okay. So are you back in Philly now? Where are you
I'm
in the?
back in Philly. I'm back in my offices.
Okay.
I came
Okay. I
back
didn't
at
know.
8 o'clock. I was back by 8 o'clock this morning.
I didn't know if that was like you had that picture saved in your background, so it looks like you're
Yeah.
always in Philly. It's like, dude, Nick, how do you do it?
No, I'm back in the office. I slept in Midtown and got on a 7 a.m. train.
On purpose,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know? Good for you, man. So Nick Araco Jr. We're on the Business Biceps and BS podcast, and you were here for the genesis of how we got this all started. When you're like, Natty, let me tell you about the podcast world. You have to have a little bit of charisma, and I was like, what does that mean? So, no, we're
It's
here,
just you
man.
be you.
We're here. In fact, I even have a microphone here. If you can see it right here, there's a microphone.
Like it.
Oh man, it's so official. But no,
Yeah.
I'm super glad that we're doing this today because
Me too.
one, the way you have to tell the story of how we met because
Yeah.
I think it's worth with the way that you run around and do what you do. You meet so many professionals in so many strange and awkward ways that
Including
that
you.
yeah, well, there was a lot of alcohol involved. I know, but you meet people all the time, and I keep hearing the same thing over and over and over. Oh, I know that guy. Oh yeah, he's fantastic. Oh, I felt like it was like love at first sight. And of course, I share that sentiment. It was definitely romantic. But it was like one of those things. It only took me about 2 or 3 minutes when we were talking. It was like there's something about this guy. I really like the way he engages. And then we started sharing some of our thoughts on just different things. And I was like, oh, we kind of think alike. And
Totally.
we should probably hang out some more, right? And so when
Yeah.
I left that evening after what it was who was our was it NetSuite that brought us out that night?
Yeah. It was NetSuite that brought us out that night. Yeah.
And we went out to
Yeah.
dinner afterwards, and
Yeah.
I went back to the hotel thinking that was a really cool experience.
Yeah.
No, so we're going to start off on how this thing started, and
Cool.
because since then it's in a whirlwind of ideas, go execution,
Yeah.
go, and you're on a plane, I'm on a plane.
Execution. You're
Oh
right.
my gosh! So yeah,
Yeah.
we have things where we have alliteration, we have
Yeah.
titles, we have all this fun stuff, and it's just been getting more and more, but it's been so much fun.
Yeah. It
Okay,
has.
tell us a story.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, first of all, we meet in New York City and there's always so much going on, right? Sensory, sight, sound, touch, smell, taste.
Lots
And
of smell.
surrounded, right? Do you remember how loud it was?
Yes.
I mean, but the second that you and I started talking, it was like within 30 seconds, everything turned off. And I felt this connection. And like we went deep really
Oh, we did,
fast.
dude.
Like
Yep.
we went like deep and we went deep on the topic around
Like
accounting
we
and
swiped right, and
finance.
then we swiped right and swiped right and swiped right.
Yeah, we did. And then all of a sudden we start like dissecting what's great and what's wrong in the world of accounting and finance. And it was like the
Mm-hmm.
world shut off.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like I can't even describe it. People probably were looking at us like, how are these guys, two guys having this conversation with so much going on around us? It's like we turned it off and we went so into each other. And we could have kept going, we went for a while, if you
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah.
I mean, at least we ordered a couple drinks,
That, that,
right?
that, that waitress came back several times.
Yeah.
Another one, another one.
Yeah, another one, another one. But there was depth to it. And you know what? I knew it wouldn't, we could stop because we knew we would come back to it.
Yeah.
And we like immediately came back to it. I think that's why we're here,
Yeah, and
right?
so yeah, and so a little bit about what you do. So you are the CEO of like 17 different companies and organizations, but the one that where we met
Yeah.
was the CFO Alliance, right?
Yes.
And the
Yes.
CFO Alliance. Tell me just a little bit about the what the alliance is,
Yeah.
because I think you have some talking points on that, and then how that's really helped you get in positions to really go out and hit the like what is it like you're on the campaign trail, finding out from people face to face
Yeah.
what their passions are, what their
Mhm.
problems are, and another P word are,
Yeah. Yeah.
because you're
Yeah.
because you're doing it. You're out
Yeah.
there doing it.
Yeah. Well, look, I think there's no greater source of confidence building, com competency building, capability building than to tap into a qualified network of peers. But that means that you need to feel safe in that environment. And that means you also need an efficient and effective way to find that individual or set of peers on demand when you
Mm-hmm.
need it. And
Mm-hmm.
look, we're human beings. There's nothing wrong with calling ourselves selfish. That's what makes us human beings. Now, there are degrees of selfishness, right?
Agreed.
Yeah, right. But we wouldn't be able to survive if we weren't selfish, right? So, what I set out to do 15 years ago, with a lot of help and a lot of mistakes made and a lot of lessons learned along the way, was to try and create the most efficient and effective way for finance leaders to find each other
Mm-hmm.
when they need it most. And that can be when they need it for themselves to make a decision and to say, what am I not seeing that I should be? Tell me what's coming that you see that I may not, or tell me what mistakes to avoid and
Yeah.
pitfalls to avoid that you've seen and you've made that you know I should avoid.
Well,
And we're so kind to each other. We don't have that same ego that maybe some of the other C-suite
It,
leaders
it, it,
have.
does, it doesn't feel very LinkedIn, does it? Like everybody
Yeah,
just
no.
agrees with everybody. No, it's like, no,
Yeah.
iron sharpens iron, man. If I say
Yeah.
something and you think it's stupid, I want you to tell me, dude, that's dumb. And here's the reasons why. Not just because it's my
Totally.
opinion that it's stupid, but here's all my experience that's about to be driven into you. And I can look at it and go, that changes the fact pattern. I
Right.
need to change. I need to change the way I approach these subjects. And it's not like in a human resources way where it's like, you can't say this, don't say this.
Right.
All that stuff is just shed down to the bone to where
Yeah.
now we are professionals talking about what professionals need to talk
Totally.
about, because once we get to the root of the issue, we can now figure out how to solve it.
Yes.
So the question I
Yes.
have for you is I'm sure that there's people out there who's like CFO Alliance. Okay, it sounds really cool. It sounds like the Hall of Justice, right? But
Yeah.
and by the way, I do want to get a logo tattooed onto my chest of something Supermanish. It would be awesome, but we'll
Yeah.
find out. We'll see if I get the licensing rights for that. But
Yeah.
there are other groups out there that are similar to a CFO group, right?
Yeah.
What makes the CFO Alliance like? Why would I want to be a part of the CFOA as opposed to one of the other ones? Not that the other ones are better or worse. Just
Yeah.
what do you bring to the table that makes me feel I want to be a CFO member,
Well, look,
CFOA
first of
member?
all, we pride ourselves having built great relationships with the other groups that are out there because they do great things as well. And we're trying to fill one gap. And that gap is that everything we do is discussion and peer dialogue driven, centered around goals, passions, struggles. We call that GPS.
Okay.
We want our members to connect based upon shared interest in issues, industry, and geo market that matters to them. We've never done a panel, a podium, or speak at online or offline in person in our history over 15 years. We're known for creating a safe environment where dialogue is at the center, exchange is at the center, which means you have to create it safe, which means
Hmm.
it's not academic by nature. We're not teaching and preaching. We're also not selling.
Yeah.
So it's pure.
Well, and
You
when you
can
say that,
that means you, Natty, can be yourself, and we know what that's like.
oh my gosh, I have longer hair. I just put it up in this hat. But that also means that you are the road warrior. I mean, we were talking
Yeah.
right before this thing
Yeah.
started that you are always on the move. but it's about that connection that you have
It
that I
is.
think makes you very, very different. Whereas you're not asking people to come see you in Philadelphia, you are going to them, which is the basically the model of mentorship that we should all be espousing. Where if I have a junior accountant, a junior finance member who is asking questions, it's not that they're asking questions to me and I'm looking down and standing next to him. I'm taking a knee right next to him, just like a coach would, and we're going to get through this problem together. So it's true mentorship. And what I think people, it's a lost art, Nick. It's a lost art in the sense that we feel like we're so busy. There's just no time for, I got this to do and this to do and this to do. I got to check this box. I got to run across. I got kids. I got this. And it's like, well, when are you going to have time for yourself? The selfishness piece. However, also the people around you, call them your family, call them your friends, call them your colleagues. They are looking at this individual and they're saying, that dude's going to burn out.
Yeah.
And when he burns out, how many people is he taking with him in the wake?
Yeah.
So what you're doing is you are manifesting this. First of all, it's energy. I don't know where you get the energy from. You have a direct link to the man upstairs, just plugging you in, bro. But when you are out there, the responses that I hear about Nick. Have you met Nick? Oh my gosh. Have I met Nick? I feel like I'm 20 years younger. It's like I don't know how he does he's like
we feed off each other.
He has the energy of a toddler. Gotta be careful. He will suck on your thumbs too. It's weird. But no, I just think that that what you bring to the CFO, and when we say CFO, it's important to know a lot of people think CFO and they think accountants, right? CFOs wear very different hats these days.
Very true.
And that goes from the top all the way down to the bottom. Who are we now recruiting into this next wave, right?
That's right.
So talk about that, because you're all over the United States. You're talking to students, you're talking to the mid-levels, but you really are talking to the bosses.
It's right. Well, first of all, we have a passion for those that really are driving their careers and their passion for the numbers. Let's start there. Passion for what's measurable. If we always have this motto, if we can't measure it, we're not going to talk about it, which means we got a lot to talk about in the CFO Alliance. Right? What was once not measurable now is. And we now sit in finance as that central source of truth, but now we have data feeding us from all these different sources, tech stacks that are increasingly complex, but a real opportunity. We don't have pointy elbows in finance, but we have this stretching zone of influence and opportunity coming at us. So don't be fooled by the C and the F and the O. It's not about title. It's about this passion for the measurable, passion for the numbers, right? So you're right. We've stretched and we're like, come be a part of this revolution, this evolution around finance and accounting and the numbers. So you're right, Tim. It's bigger.
You know, and so you and I got really fired up the other day off a LinkedIn post. By the way, you posted something in the CFO Alliance, also shared it on LinkedIn so everybody could kind of comment on it. Dude, that dude was on Fox News this morning. And I'm like, there was no way that someone's going to give that guy a microphone to tell everybody else how it's done. Now, I will give him credit. He did say a couple good things about, hey, listen, this is not for everybody. I had to sacrifice some things, but the fact of the matter is, it's like it's not all about money, dude. And I get that there's a great thing about having financial freedom. I don't have financial freedom. Do I feel like I'm locked in a box? No, I don't. But I also really love what I do. And so every day I go to work and I get to impart wisdom into people and also learn from others as well. So to have this one guy come out here and make this grandiose statement about grind, American dream, and then everybody else is now listening to him and not the people that are trusted who are sitting in the corner offices and saying, well, why can't I be like that guy? It's like, he's an anomaly, man. So it's like, how like that's the kind of stuff like the media just grabs these little nuggets. They grab the nuggets and they say, listen to this. And now we have this guy that's out there spouting all of this, I'm going to call it drivel, because he's giving people a false sense of security is what he's doing.
He is. And I had this conversation last night with a group of CFO Alliance members in New York. We were in a talent and tech meetup and we were talking just about this. Would you trade the 10,000 relationships that you have with members in the CFO Alliance for 10x in dollars and cents, right? Whatever the X is, the multiplier effect on the value of those relationships. And I as I, I couldn't put a price tag on the relationships. I
Yeah.
can't. And now, and I also believe at some point that shareholder value, public, private, and nonprofit, are going to measure strength of relationship as a source of shareholder value. I really believe that in my lifetime. So I would love to go back to him when that happens, when the SEC at some point says shareholder value in public companies is tied to relationship strength. I'd love to go back to him and be like, now what do you think, Mr. I don't think relationships matter at all?
Yeah, I want to sleep on the floor and be like Elon. I mean, look, dude,
Yeah,
I'm all for the grind. I get it. But if your goal is that I need to make the 10, 20, 50 million dollars so that I can finally be free of all of these burdens of society, it's like the problem is that once you enter those rooms, you now become those same sycophants that just they're always
yeah,
chasing the next thing and the next thing. And now, granted, you now have the money to go do something on your own, and you don't have to get the
yeah,
investors and stuff like that, which means that you're not making any more relationships, like you
yeah,
said. And so you're constantly and maybe they like this. Maybe you're this maverick. You're this lone wolf, and that's just not the way it works in real business. Business is about relations. It's about relating with people. It's like my vendors, my customers, my colleagues. It's about having that connection all across the board to where if I look at you and you say, hey, look, it's not about the numbers. Like when we were talking about earlier, I looked at you and said, you look like you're rested. And I think, why, how would you and I even know that? But that means because we have a relationship to where I know what
that's
it looks
right.
like when you're tired,
Yeah, that's right.
right?
And we trademark making connections that count the same day that we formed the CFO Alliance because I knew it would be the thread. You asked what makes this different. I I'm not a speaker and I don't travel around the country to speak. I'm there to facilitate and create the environment for everyone else to have a voice. That's what jazzes me up. That's what gives me
Yeah.
that energy. That's what puts the smile on my face. It's what gets created in the room, online or offline, whether or not it's a group of two finance leaders that we've gathered or 20 or more. That's the magic and the value of CFO
Yeah.
Alliance.
Yeah,
That's
so
it.
something very so akin to what you're saying in the CFO, the finance and the accounting leadership world. I have the same passion for those in the academic world, right? So the
Yeah,
young kids coming out, the juniors, the seniors in college, the plus fives, if you will,
yeah,
the junior accountants, that young professional, that 7 year window,
yeah,
and what I look at is I say. I want to like someone say, why do you do it? What makes you so passionate about it? It's like you have no idea until you've sat there across the table from somebody and you can see the light in their eyes turn on.
yeah.
That
You can
is the
see it.
fuel. You can see it. You can see
Yeah,
oh my gosh, I
yeah,
got it. Oh my God. It's like the body language changes. The stress starts leaking out of their bodies. They're like, they feel confident. You can see it. Like they start rolling their shoulders back. And it's one of those things that if you're not interested, if you're not speaking into people's lives and getting out of yourself, it's not about you, Natty. It's about the
yeah.
person across the table. If you're not speaking into somebody's lives, and of course learning during the process, then you never have the joy of watching that person grow.
Sure,
So
sure.
when you're running around town, and I say town, you're in D.C., you're in Texas, you're in California, you're in New York, you're all over the place, but you're there in person, in front of 5, maybe 10, maybe 25 people, and you're reading body language.
Yeah,
You're looking around the room when someone says something across the room and another guy goes, you're like, hold the phone. What do you got, man?
yeah.
Then
Yeah,
all of a sudden, this
just
guy,
give it to us. This is your
yes,
place, right? That's why we're here. And it's community. And it's it's okay. That's the only I don't know how to describe it that. It's okay. Let it out.
yeah,
And let out the good too. It's not all therapy.
yeah,
It's also pushing, right? We've all, especially in the emerging and mid-market enterprise space,
Mm-hmm.
we've embraced the fact that the role of the CFO and the finance and accounting team continues to stretch. We're not running from it. We're also not chest pounding either, right?
Yeah.
It's not an ego play.
So expand on that though, because one of the things that we're finding is that again, go back to when people think CFO, they think accountant, and of course, when they think
Yeah.
accountant, they think CPA, right? So we're trying to deconstruct that an accountant doesn't always have to have a CPA license in order to be a value add to the team. Okay,
Yeah,
you can also have a certified management accountant, right? You can
that's
have
right.
all these. You can have certified internal auditor, that type of stuff, right?
That's right.
They're all valuable pieces of the team. But what we're also seeing is that it's also finance people. I know one of the first things
Yeah.
when we started building out the global board for the CFOA, some
Yeah.
people came in and was like, "Hey, I'm not an accountant. I'm not this. I'm not this." And I'm like, "You know what, Natty, you have to kind of change your wording. This is finance and accounting." And so
It
got it
is.
to the point where we got very Italian. We call it "accounting," right? So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
just smashing. You got to put an apostrophe. It
That's
looks
right.
cool. Um,
It
but
is.
but when we're here, now that we know that there's finance and accounting professionals, and we are
Mhm.
professionals, the expertise, the capes that we wear are born from all of the other times that we spent late nights trying to figure out what was going on, the strategy components,
Thinking.
all just
Yeah.
going and going, doing some teamwork aspects and figuring out what's happening over here. But now the CFO seat is changing.
It is.
And it's not just finance and accounting anymore. You're having these conversations. What are you seeing from the CFO perspective of how this position, this seat, is becoming more ubiquitous in the organizations?
It's really interesting. I got asked to comment on the record recently about the governor in Florida's appointment of the CFO,
Okay.
and a bit controversial who he selected. That individual does not have any formal education or training in finance, but had been a successful entrepreneur. And one of the comments I made was that that individual is a master expert in communication and leadership
Mm,
and had built amazing cross-functional teams and cross-functional communication skills, meaning he had found an ability to translate the numbers into the language of the
ugh,
other functional leaders. And that was a core skill of the CFO across enterprises, across industries, across structures, across markets. And what we're seeing in the CFO Alliance community for the CFO of today and the finance and accounting teams of the future, that is and going to be a critical success factor that needs to be developed. And that may have been the reason, keep politics aside, that the governor chose that individual for that seat.
Well, one of the people we were having a conversation, I believe, was at our board meeting in was it Tucson, Scottsdale, where we
Scottsdale.
were, and
Scottsdale, yeah.
there was one woman in the room who said something, and I really liked how she said it. She said, "It's not about the you said it earlier. It's not about the C. It's not about the F. It's not about the O." She goes, "I tend to think of the CFO position as being the chief resource officer, not to be confused with the human resources,
Right.
but I'm in charge of human resources." The capital. I'm in charge of risk mitigation. I'm in charge of all of these different things that
Yeah.
before I was just doing journal entries and signing off on income statements and tax returns, right? But now, like we are taking on the burdens of not only everybody in the C-suite, but all the managers that are coming up. Pretty much anybody that has a question or a comment with a dollar sign in front of it, they want to know our opinion. Well, our
Yeah.
opinion can't just be rooted in accounting and finance anymore.
No.
It's got to be more informed. There's so much going on in the world events, in local events, in economic events, in social, political ramifications. It's like when they come to us, it's like, where do I start? It's like,
It
hey, I
is.
was just asking if I could get a couple quarters for the vending machine. Like, oh, that's what you wanted, right? But no, but you're exactly right. The
Yeah.
CFO position right now has changed dramatically from the time when I always go back to this. I think about the boardroom where these guys, it's all a bunch of white men. They're all smoking cigars, and they're all called JB and JR, and they're reduced to their first two letters, right? And it just, hey, Toots. It's like very, very misogynistic and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But these days it's not like that. We
No.
are so dynamic. And what I see happening is that traditionally the CEO role, if the CEO were to step out, the person that would come up into that role was the COO, the Chief Operating Officer.
That's true.
What I'm noticing now, though, is that the CFO is starting to say, "Hey, I can do this too, and I know how to do the books."
So, Tim, there's a valid point that came up, and I'd be curious your opinion. I'm going to throw a question to you now because it
Go.
came up in New York. So imagine I have a room full of finance and tech leaders last night. So we added tech into it, right? Because you got this intersection now of finance and tech. Tech stuff, you're living it,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And I threw something out because there was a recent report that there are an increasing number of CEOs that are being named to that CEO seat that are moving into that seat, not coming up through a corporate leadership ladder,
Okay.
but coming up through consulting
Oh,
into a
interesting.
CEO seat.
Hmm.
And the article was about challenging the implications of that on how that CEO, how that influences how that CEO makes decisions. And what are the implications then for the other C-suite leaders that CEO works with? So I'm thinking, what does that mean to a CFO who traditionally had worked with a corporate trained CEO?
Sure.
Now imagine you inherit a new CEO who grew up in consulting and the implications of how they make decisions and how that may alter how a CFO has to operate with that CEO.
Well, my first reaction is me personally, and this is my personality because I've been
Yeah,
on the outside looking in. I mean,
yeah,
there's the bonfire, there's the people around the bonfire, and there's the people right behind them that are trying to, hey, I want to know the story, I want to hear it, right? I think it's refreshing in the sense that you have this consultant mindset who is going to look at your business from the standpoint of like from a completely different angle. It's not it's certainly there's some job security type stuff, but they're there to be that I'll use the word again, a maverick to come in and
yeah.
go, we're going to look at this differently. Hey, CFO, are you along for the ride? I was like, yeah, as long as we keep these guardrails in place, and we make sure what's right is right, what's wrong is wrong, and that type of stuff. I'm along for the ride because I know from my position, I can do the finance part. I got that licked. It's easy to me. I can do the projections. I get to be a great historian, or I got a really shiny crystal ball. But the issue is that what else do you want? Do you want to know how I'm going to protect this mountain of cash you're about to bring in? That's the risk mitigation hat. I'm essentially an internal counsel too. Another thing is technology-wise, I know our stack better than probably our IT
Right.
guys. And
Yeah.
so I know what those people do in those particular positions. So you tell me, CEO consultant, how can I help you succeed? Because if you succeed, we all succeed.
That's right. That's right. And you're going to embrace the fact that that CEO is probably driven by nonstop flow of questions that provide you the opportunity to apply that critical core skill that you have of intellectual curiosity,
Yep.
a questioning around a constant question of basis. Where's the basis for that? And critical thinking all day long,
Well, and
right?
also, so yeah, absolutely. And the other thing that you miss on when you have an institutional CEO, and by the way, there was just an article I just read it on. I think it was LinkedIn today. There was a gentleman that just rose to the CEO seat of Target, and that
Oh,
he
I read
started.
it.
Did you read it?
It
Years
started as
ago,
an
like 20,
introvert.
22 years ago, he was an
I
intern.
know.
And he just persevered. First of all, nobody does that these days.
No,
22 years in one company. But
I
you know what?
know.
Good for him because he
Yeah,
did. You could watch his LinkedIn as like they showed his experience, and you could see him moving up the ladder, moving up the ladder.
yeah,
Now he's there. Okay, you know this company literally better than anybody. Where are you going to go next? Because you've seen the blemishes, you've
I
seen the
know.
greatness. Where are we going with this Target? So that's curious.
Yeah,
The other thing too, though, is that when you have those institutional CEOs who have risen through the ranks, or let's say they're handpicked from another institutional CEO and been placed in, a lot of them just kind of start. They're like, let me see what I can. I have a
what I
mandate.
can bring.
I have a mandate from the board, and so
Yeah,
I'm gonna switch this around and see what happens. I'm gonna switch this around. Oh, but this is what worked at my other company. This is what
right.
didn't work. It's like, bro, this is a completely different
Yeah,
environment. Hey, lady, Stop doing this stuff. It's like, you don't always have to come in and start kicking crap around
That's
in order to
right.
make things work. Look at your people. What relationship do you find value in? It better be the CFO, right? And if you're not bringing value to the CEO anyway, it's like, yeah, you should probably go ahead and start looking for another job. But but look around and see what kind of resources you truly have. But the first person they should be leaning on, the very first person, is not the operational people. It should be the finance person, because they know everything about that company. Everything comes through. The legal briefs come through, the invoices, all that stuff. And so you have human resources on the kindergarten drama, and for everything else, there's the CFO in the finance department.
I think you're right. I see the evolution of the CFO towards ultimately, and that team really becoming the chief performance officer, because that, when you say at the center, I think about performance. I'm preaching to the choir, right? You're
Yeah,
in a company that's all about performance, but I narrow that down to financial performance as well, right? And the like. And I mean that in the most positive way. The
sure.
best of understanding how an enterprise performs comes through the throughput, input, output, throughput goes through finance.
It does. It does. And actually, it
Mm.
should live there,
Yeah.
because it's just right now there's like this awakening that's happening in the American economy, and I think really globally, but I only see it, locally. Is
Yeah.
that the CFO is now being, I think they've been emboldened to take that next step to say, hey, I'm not going to be quiet in these meetings.
Yeah.
I'm not just going to give you my opinion on what the numbers say. I'm gonna help you out with a little bit of the strategy. I want to throw another question back at you. I had read
Yeah.
this article, and there's a guy that he's a secret CFO, right?
Oh yeah.
On LinkedIn. I love his posts. I subscribe to his emails and everything. And he ventured, he proffered something the other day where I thought, oh, I want to see how everybody just blows up on this, right? He goes, I don't think the CFO should be in the in meetings, in the big meetings. And I'm like, ooh, I want to see how this works. And I started thinking about this. Started thinking about, well, what do I really bring to like strategy meetings? What do I really bring to like organizational meetings? And do I really necessarily need to be in all of these meetings? Because at the end of the day, the CEO and or the ownership are going to make decisions, and I'm just going to have to figure out how to make either pay for it or keep the costs contained, right? So, does my job really change? No matter what happens out of that meeting, my job is to do one of two things: to increase revenue or to reduce costs. And
Offense or defense? You're either
offensive
playing
defense.
offense or defense.
Well, and it's
Right.
very, and it's as fast as basketball. You're
Right.
up and down the court,
Right.
right? And so I was thinking about this, and I was kind of watching some of these things pour in. And of course, in a LinkedIn world, everybody just agrees just for the sake of agreeing, because nobody has any balls on LinkedIn. And so when you start looking at this, you say, okay, but does he have a point here? And the point that I think that I brought away from is that, you know what, I am happiest when I don't have to be in those meetings, because I don't have to worry about oh, here's the idea. Here's the second idea. Oh no, we're not going to do that. Here's the third idea. Just bring me the final idea, and I will give you a strategy on how to make it successful.
You know what? I can respect that. And I can see a number of my CFO Alliance members holding that same opinion. Not all,
Right.
Tim, not all,
Well, but the
and
thing is that
but
the thing that I
many.
think I think that I think is that we don't when you rise to this level, a lot of people think like now it's about me, right? We talk about the wall of me behind us with all of our
Yeah,
degrees and our
yeah,
frames and our accolades. But I've earned a right to be in that room. You need to listen to me. You know what? Now you're making it about you,
yeah.
and
It's
it's
not
not
about
about
posture.
you.
It's not politicking. It's not posture, and it's not about ego. And it's not necessary. Not if it's not necessary.
Correct. And so
Yeah,
from my perspective, I look at it and go, you know what? All right. I could fall into line with
yeah,
this, because I mean, think about it. Think of all the time you don't waste being in all these interstitial meetings that are just that where nothing's being decided, and you're just like, why did I waste my time with that meeting? It's like, you know what?
yeah,
Don't even invite me. If I don't need to be
yeah,
in the meeting, do not invite me. Just tell me what you
yeah.
want to do, and I'll help you pay for it. Right?
Right.
I think it's great.
Yeah, I think you're right. The dynamics are different in each. If a chief reality officer is needed in that meeting, then you have to play that role. If it's not, just given the way the decision trees work, then
right.
you're right.
By the
You're
way, I want to call this out because so far we have said CFO, but we've said Chief Resource Officer, Chief Procurement Officer, Chief Reality Officer. It keeps changing, but it's all true.
it
Like
is.
we wear so many hats and we're so good
Yeah,
at wearing them that when you come out of the gates, you look at it like, what makes that person so dynamic? It's like, oh my gosh, do you know the experience that they have?
that's right.
I was talking to a friend of mine. She actually invited me over to actually the tour championship this past weekend. Yeah, actually yesterday.
Nice.
And it got to be first time I've ever been to a large tournament. And she was asking me. She said, "Hey, I aspire to be in the role that you have. I've looked at your career. I've seen how you've made different decisions. Had a lot of different experiences." She says, "I'm in a controller role here, and I really like my job. I love the people I work with, but I'd like to aspire to that level too. What do you think makes you so successful?" And I started thinking about that, and I was like, man, I really need to have a really good answer on this because I get this. It's like an actor. Like you have to have a monologue ready, go, 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 because they're like, do it. And you have 30 seconds to impress the person, right? On a
Yeah.
subway, on an elevator, what have you. And I started thinking about it. About a year ago, I was off LinkedIn. A woman found me on LinkedIn, and she said, "Hey, I'm just interested in your background. Can we just talk?" And she was like she was a speaker, a coach, what have you. I was like, "Yeah, I'm down for talking." So we got on the phone. It's supposed to be a 15-minute conversation. Obviously, went to about an hour because I can't shut up. But she says, "Why do you think you've been so successful in the C-suite, especially in a finance role?" And I said, "You know what I think it is? I think it comes down to storytelling. I
Mhm.
think I'm really good at telling stories." And now maybe that's the old Irish in me, right? You put a shot of Jameson and a Guinness in my gullet, and we're gonna tell some funny stories. We'll probably make some that night too. But I said I feel like I just relate to people, and the way that I do it is that I don't make anybody feel stupid. It's I just kind of I just tell the story as authentically as possible, and whatever you glean from it is great. If you want to ask follow-up questions, I don't think like, oh, that's a dumb question. It's a story. It's the improv rules. It's the yes and. It's the how do we continue to have this conversation as opposed to saying no, 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 that's not where you want to go. And then all of a sudden people stop short and they're like, oh, what did I just do, right? And so my response to this woman who was asking this question, I said, honestly, I think you just got to be a good storyteller. Not just
Yeah.
take those numbers, tell the story because the
You
people
just hit a
above
key
you.
point. Combine it with an ability to understand and frame and bring the numbers into it is a very special skill.
Well, a lot of people don't know
That's
how
the
to take that.
combination.
A lot of people don't know how to take that technical and make it tangible.
No, they don't. They
And
don't. And
but the
yeah.
good.
No, I was just going to say part of what people don't know about my background is that I started my career as a lawyer in litigation
Hey,
and I left.
we'll edit that
Yeah.
out. It's fine.
I left very quickly. I left very quickly because I did not enjoy the adversarial nature, but the transferable skills I bring with me every day and interest and passion to use my ears and my mind and my heart before my mouth
Yeah.
and an ability to unpack and listen and process before I speak. And
Yeah,
I
that's something I
think
wish I had early on in my career.
most finance and accounting professionals do that, and they get criticized for being more introverted. I don't view it as introversion. I view it as more as processing and thinking before speaking. They're less impulsive.
So I've
No
got a
one
story for
wants
you.
no one wants an impulsive
Yeah.
accountant.
No, you don't.
That gets you in jail.
But you also, yeah, you also don't want the guy that's analysis paralysis, like,
I
oh no,
agree.
we can't
It's
do this, right?
past that.
Balance, balance,
Thankfully.
balance, right?
I
So,
agree.
so I've got a story for you. I was working in an organization, and we had a leadership group, right? And so you got owners of the organization, you have marketing, you have human resources, and of course the finance element. And I would always come in, I'd bring my laptop, and I would just take notes, right? Because when I get into those environments, I'm there to listen because I know that there's a certain strategy that I need to uphold, right? And from a finance perspective, I need to make sure that what that person just said, that just changed the fact pattern that now I need to go back and in my mind, okay, I need to reconfigure this because that's going to change this. That's going to, it's going to increase the lead time for this. And so I'm constantly going. And so I remember being confronted by one of the owners. Owners come up to me, he goes, Natty, I don't get it. Like, why don't oh no, he did it very tongue in cheek. He comes out, he goes, hey, I really appreciate everything you said in the meeting today. And I kind of, for a second there, I was like, I didn't say anything in the meeting. And I was like, oh, he's saying like, why? Basically what he was saying is like, dude, you're in that room, you should be saying something. And I was like, well, how do I come back to this? Because I don't want him to think that if value in this meeting is me saying something, oh, I'll say stuff all day long, but I can rock your world. I will never shut up. The problem is that you don't want that impulsive stuff. You don't like a funny quip here and there. It's all right. I'm thinking, no. You don't want me saying anything because after this meeting, when I'm pulling it all together and I come to you and go, this is now our new direction. What do you think? That's my value. It's not what I'm saying. It's that I'm quietly leading from the back, from the shadows. We always call it shadow ops, right? I'm leading from the shadows saying, nope, that needs to change. That needs to change. Gotta pull this. And then I come back and go, hey, Natty, what do you got for us? Like, well, let me tell you, this changed, this changed, this stayed right here. This is our new direction. It's going to cost X amount of dollars. Can I answer any other questions for you? And it's like,
There you go.
Oh,
You thread that
right.
needle then. Yeah.
And by the way, I'm not the only one that does that. That's what we are really good at doing as financial professionals, is listening to how the winds of change are happening. It's like, is this a fad, or is this something that's really something that's going to change fundamentally what we do on a day-to-day basis? If it is, I need to get on top of that. I need to research it. I need to learn. If it's something that's just like, oh, dude, that was just a sneeze, right? In a hurricane, I'm over that. I'm just going to let that guy ride that out. Done. And it does. It usually peters out. But I think from the financial perspective, I don't need to be in the room to be effective, but I do need to be, and let's say I'm a human. We're all human people. We're human people, of course. I don't need the hugs, but I do need a attaboy every once in a while. Hey, thanks for what you do. We did the whole love languages thing, and my love language is words of affirmation. All right. So if you want to love on me, just like, hey, Natty, you're a really good guy. And I'm like, oh, I feel so warm and cozy. But
I'll have to remember
that. Thank you. I see this happening in my world and the recent experiences that I've had at a handful of organizations that I've been in, and I've come to find that usually the person that's silent is not necessarily the one. We talked about this before. It's like the person that yells the loudest gets ascribed to being the most competent in the room, but really the most confident person in the room is not necessarily the most competent person in the room, right? So they just have a louder voice.
I agree.
So all that being said, as you're moving around the country, as you're meeting all these financial professionals who are literally the heart of their organizations, how do you see them taking that leadership role, whether it's out front or whether it's behind? Do you see that happening? Do they talk about it? Do they talk about not being appreciated, undervalued?
I don't think there's a collective spirit that they feel undervalued. I will tell you that they all recognize how much responsibility it comes with, and they take it very seriously. It's hard. They're tired. They eat last. They work hard.
I love that.
They recognize they feed themselves last. Look, we're heading into budgeting and planning season. I have to keep reminding them to make sure they feed themselves and their teams. Right?
That's so
funny.
Especially
during volatile times, during times where revenue and EBITDA targets may not have been met this year, and you're planning for potentially a difficult year ahead, and you have difficult decisions need to be made. Don't forget investments in yourselves and your teams as well. And by the way, these are times where some enterprises and some leadership teams and functional leaders get aggressive and say, this is where we need to exploit our advantage. Maybe finance should be, accounting should be thinking that as well, right?
Yeah, sure.
So I remind them of that.
There's nothing wrong with putting that stake in the ground and saying, this is, I'm not going to go further than this. Like this
I
is, I
agree.
will die on this hill, but there are a bunch of hills out there.
There are.
Which ones are sacrosanct? What are your
That's
sacred
right.
cows?
That's right. I will also tell you that we all recognize that tenure in that seat continues to either stay stuck at a really short number or continue to trend down. I do think that we recognize that trend with private equity investment in private companies continuing, even though it's
Hmm.
been a very slow year in the capital markets, that is driving down tenure in CFO seats. So the idea of I'm coming to stay is not a thing of, that was the thing of the past. I will tell you
Look,
that,
I'm a big proponent of the term limits too. So keep going.
yeah, I will tell you the most amazing and exciting change in the CFO Alliance that I've seen in the last few years is how much peer sourcing, I don't even call it crowd because we're not a crowd, peer sourcing we're doing now in both quality and quantity than we ever did before. Tell me what you're seeing. Tell me what I should be seeing. Challenge me, stretch me, train me, develop me. It's so pure. It's so real. It's so authentic. It's so without ego. It's so wonderful to see that we trust each other so much to admit, I'm not good at this, but you are, so tell me. I love that. I don't believe that we'd see that in a CEO community. I don't think we'd see that, no offense. We're all always selling. I don't think
Yeah,
we'd see that in a chief revenue officer or sales community. I think we are willing to say, I think if you can make me better, I'll pay it forward and make somebody else better.
I agree. I
It's
agree.
really beautiful to see. There's a purity to it. And the other key piece is there's not a lot of ego in the CFO Alliance. It's really kind of cool, you know?
I felt the same thing, especially when we all got together and we got to see everybody has accolades behind them. It's just a matter of how do we connect with our peers and how can we support each other? Because and I know it seems very like it's very millennial to think that way. It's like, oh, I need to emote on my shirt. I need to do all these things. But the reality of it is that we are a special breed.
Yeah.
When you get to the levels that we are in finance and accounting, you know things, you have experiences that you want to be able to share, but you don't want to come across as having like this haughtiness to you, like I know
No.
it all, because we're never in that position. We know that numbers change, and that we need to
Yeah.
make sure that our storytelling ability, when those numbers change, can be spun the right way, right? Now that's not to say you make a bunch of BS to cover some shortfalls. However, that's a nice skill to have as well. We call that investor relations. But when you really get down to it, I think the CFOs are starting to see that there is strength in numbers, and
Yeah.
that as we start looking at it, you're not an island.
No.
There are resources out there for you to take advantage of, and why not? I mean, if someone else has already gone through the rigors of onboarding a new platform, of doing a certain implementation, of having issues with vendors or a legal issue,
Yeah.
lean on them, learn
Yeah.
from them, and because ultimately, if we were all looking out for each other, then we're all going to do a really good job of, hey, we're going to celebrate the wins together as well.
Yeah. I mean, look, Tim, look at the power of the collective of a community like ours as well. I mean, the fact that we get asked and pulled into discussions with leadership teams from the global 2000 and say, tell us what you need and want as representing the voice of the mid-market and emerging CFO so you can guide our strategy in investment in our technology and our development for the future is pretty powerful and a testament to how important the finance leaders are in emerging and mid-market enterprises here in North America and around the globe. The
That's
fact that
amazing.
CFO Alliance members are being asked for that is pretty powerful.
Okay, so I'm going to put a
You
little
know,
note in there right now, because if FIFA with the World Cup team comes to town and they need some advice, you better pull me into that meeting.
I will. I will. It's a promise made.
And we'll get Pauline Philippi on our team too. She's awesome as well. No, I think I love the community. I
Yeah.
love what we do. I am very passionate about not only who we are, How can we talk about it a lot. We talk about realigning, reigniting, and resupplying. What is
Resupplying.
realigning? Realign our goals. It's like, why did we come and do this in the first place? What is our why? And,
Yeah.
and I would be willing to bet if you looked around the room, a bunch of CFOs said, why are you here? Why did you even come? Why did you become a finance or accounting professional? It might be because my mom and dad said it might be this, but there's something else. There's some other reason why you're here. Get back in touch with that, because
Yeah.
that is the person you were meant to be. I think I mentioned on one of your things the other day. It said yeah, you didn't choose this life. This life chose you. And so if that's the case, then you have to get out there and take that make that world your oyster. The other side, you talk about reigniting.
Yeah.
Realign your goals, reignite the passion for why we even do this.
That's
Because
right.
here's the real reason. Talked about this earlier, and I'm like, you know me, I'm very passionate about that 7-year window. And I look at it and say, if people look up the chain and they see us and they go, I don't want to do that,
I don't want to be that. Yeah.
then what are we doing? We are cutting the legs out from underneath us. I say you can either have dinner plans or you can have succession plans. You tell
Yeah.
me what you want, right?
Yeah.
And then lastly, you look at the resupplying, right? So very Baptist today, right? RRR, 3 R's. Resupply with really good talent that looks up
Yeah.
the chain, and it's not them trying to punch through. It's us reaching down and pulling them up,
Absolutely.
don't send them to the United Way meeting. Bring them to the United Way meeting, right?
Yeah.
Introduce them to people, like you're making connections count, right?
Yeah.
I think
We
that
had them
that's
there last
our
night in
job.
New York. We
Oh, did
had
you
some
really?
finance interns with us there last night. It was their last day of their internship before they go back to finish their senior year of undergrad studies
That's
in
awesome.
various accounting and finance programs. And we embraced them and had them work in the room with us, paired up, and they were asking great questions. They learned more than they did probably sitting behind those desks in those internships.
I guarantee they did. The other thing
Yeah.
too is that when you have that young blood and that fresh doe-eyed look in the room, it makes you look back and go, "Gosh, I remember when it was like that." And all of a sudden, it's like it's like, "Dink!
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's why we're doing it. It's not
Yeah.
about us anymore. It's
Yeah.
about the future, and how can we pull these stumbling blocks out of the way for the future of our great industries? Because
Yeah.
whether you like it or not, the world, I know I'll have people come and like that guy's an idiot. He has no idea what he's talking about. If all the accountants and finance people didn't show up to work, let's just say they took a two week sabbatical, what would happen to our economy?
Well,
You think the
yeah.
marketing teams are going to keep those things? Oh yeah, we are
Yeah.
vital. We are vital
Yeah.
to the American heartbeat, and
Yeah.
I think that it's finally time that people are looking at CFOs and giving us our recognition. Not that we want it, but that we deserve it.
Yeah.
So I'm extremely excited. So your CFO Alliance, if I wanted to be involved in your CFO Alliance, how would I get in touch with you or with Greg or with your organizations?
Yeah. So you can visit us at CFOalliance.com. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, Nick Araco Jr. You can email me at nick.araco@CFOalliance.com. You can text me 610-316-1660. Yes, you can text me.
Wait, I saw that
I'm
written on a bathroom wall. Is that for a good
Yeah.
time?
Yes. Holy. Well, as you know, Tim, we have a good time, right? Well,
Always have a good time, my
always.
friend. I mean, we're
Always.
finance and accounting people. It's
Yes.
like behind lawyers, we are the second biggest lushes out there.
And you'll find me traveling around the US, and you'll find me online as well. And if you can't find me, you can find Tim or find me through Tim.
Well, and there's also local people. There you have local chapters that
Yep.
you want to get tied into. So you have that local community.
Yeah.
No, I'm super excited. I want to thank you so much for calling
Thank
me and
you.
asking me to come to that happy hour back at the Javits near the Javits Center and at the Financial Accounting and Technology Expo. I mean, talk
Yeah,
about a bunch of
done
nerds.
by our friends at CFO Leadership Council. Do you talk about another group we're
Love
friends
it.
with? Good, do
Yep.
good things.
Oh,
That's
oh,
one we do good
Jack and
things
his
with.
team, they're all over it. And plus Jack
Yep.
is ripped, so I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
But I'm super excited. Thank you so much for bringing me into the fold. I'm
Yeah.
excited to be a part of the movement. I'm excited to
Yeah.
see to really tap into the energy that you have, and I'm hopefully bringing more people just like us to take us above and beyond where we think we can even go.
Well, we love it too. We love your energy too, Tim, and thank you. Thanks for having me today.
You're welcome, brother. Hey, we're gonna connect on the other side of this. I'll talk to you
Awesome.
later, brother.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye.